the second session that we are starting.
Yeah,
So the topic is what kind of silks?
yes.
That's pretty interesting. So looking forward to some more interesting information about spider silk and interesting behaviors related to this.
I think the first half I had tried to show you how many different kinds of structures in web do we have. We've covered most of the major families. We did not go into very rare ones like Philistatidae and Hanidae and Dysderidae. There are so many families if you can name them. But the expression of silk and the web structure, mostly when you walk Indian deciduous forests or Indian forests for that matter, the ones very commonly which you would encounter is what I had tried to put in the presentation. Because every other family, if I keep introducing a new family to you, it will be a little of jargon. It's not easy to follow all the families together. And the way they create those web structures again will be pretty different. So, like I was showing you some of the other, spiders in the previous part, I had shown you some of the saltacids which are pretty common there. Can any of you identify this particular saltacid here in the first image on my left, on the left of your screen? Anyone? It's a pretty famous spider that way. I think if there are naturalists here, they should be knowing this already. Not sure, but are there any? Oh yes, Soham is correct. Ah, so many answers, huh? So this is Shakespeare's Lady Love, which is Portia. I always call it that, but it's far from any love. Portia is basically so all of you, those who have studied ICSE board and have read about Merchant of Venice would know who is Portia. But here in front of you is Portia, which is a arenophagic or aranid hunter. The spider prefers to hunt upon other spiders. And it is a very, very, very sensitive mother. Like you can see here, there is an egg sac in front of it. It is in like, that guard position there. And those babies coming out of that egg sac, do you see that it has built some silk around it? Remember, saltacids do not build webs. So when we had reared this particular spider in my lab here, I could see that it has created some good amount of, considerable amount of silk around it. Not exactly the orbs, not exactly to hang. They were not drag lines, some mesh around with which it can sense if there is any other predator trying to attack. Now, coming to types of silk, we will first discuss the glands, what produces what, and then only I can come to the type of silk. Now, why I have put this slide this way is because do you see that there are some fine lines in the orb at the distance, and there is some mesh work here in the center. Can any of you guess why is it not entirely fine lines? Why this mesh? Is this mesh work necessary? This artwork in the center necessary? What could be the significance of this artwork? Anyone? Look at the agio up there on the top right. You can see my pointer. What is the significance of this tiny little circular artwork here in the center? It could have been these silk all around, isn't it? P. Sarkar says camouflage. Okay.
Protection from predators to look bigger.
Maybe look insignificant. What this silk does is, like I said, from a distance, a bird would see that there is some mesh, it will try to avoid. So these tiny spiders will mostly not like to be seen by predators like birds, okay, or even wasps sometimes. So they create this mesh in the center, like stabilimentum, and they will stay here so that they almost become invisible. If you imagine this at 5 meter distance, you will not be able to even see it that it's present over there in the center. Whereas this particular silk is invisible. Now, why is this invisible? So that an insect cannot see this and would go and strike there. That makes its meal. So this has to be potentially invisible. This has to be potentially a little visible but messy so that it does not the MESSI, MESSY, so that it does not be very prominent to the predators. Okay. Now this is how silk will be different for different animals. What is the composition of spider silk? All of us must have Googled internet by now and known that spideroin is the protein which makes up spider silk. So there are two more amino acids, which is glycine and alanine, which is predominantly present in spider silk. You can also ask me why spider silk is different from insect silk. How many of you know that spider silk is different from insect silk? Can anyone guess why do insects produce silk? Do they produce silk? We've already said that insects produce some silk. The major difference, tell me one difference, one major difference. Look at a spider and look at the insect. What is the difference between, see, moths, for example, the other favorite topic is moths, which I follow very intently. Moths also would,
Spiders,
yeah, please.
sorry, spiders have the gland. The insect do not have such gland. Silk gland.
The insects don't have the same glands, but they do have some glands from where they would produce silk. Any other difference which would majorly be a morphological difference for silk
Ma'am,
production? Yes, please.
ma'am, maybe insects are using this silk for cocoon and other applications for metamorphosis in their life cycle.
Absolutely.
And for this, and this is the only weapon of spiders that they can depend to catch their
Prey.
food.
Okay, but
Prey,
I'm
yeah,
asking what
prey.
is the major difference between the spider producing silk and insect producing silk? You are telling me the applications and the use of it.
Yeah.
Fine, that's given. Good. But
Okay.
what is the major difference between both? Are the same silk, spider silk and insect
No,
silk?
that I think it is more strong.
Very
Depend
strong.
upon their very strong. Genetically, they are different, and they because it is very important in their life cycle, because it is one of the main weapon by which they can they can use for roosting or foraging, feeding.
True. We give it to that.
Yeah,
So yes,
thank you.
this is one of the major things what is different. But what I was expecting is insects do not produce silk from the hind part of the abdomen, like I have shown here in the case of a spider. Spider has got special glands, special apparatus, and different kinds of what do I say? Cells which will promote silk, because silk is a very integral part of the spider. Whether producing an orb or a web or not, silk production is ingrained in spider. It has to produce silk. Like I said, whether it needs it for prey or not, it will always need it for wrapping the egg sac. Correct? Now, how is it different? This produces silk with the help of many different silk glands. And what is different in the insect and spider silk is insect silk is way more soft, way more fragile. Spider silk it has got amorphous protein particles along throughout the strands, which makes the tensile strength of it extremely hard, more than Kevlar, right? We all know that steel and this Young's modulus story, right? So you can go back and Google spider silk and the Young's modulus. They will give you the entire story there. I'm not going to repeat it, but I'll show you a very interesting video on that. These are the glands I was talking about. Now, insects will produce it from the labium, using it with saliva. So they are temporary, like one of our friends just said, Mr. Sarkar was explaining. They need it only for pupating, sometimes to make a cocoon. Short, just one time need. Spiders need it every time they have to glide somewhere, fly somewhere, drag line, prey, egg sac, wrap silk around some animal which is fluttering in its web. Every now and then they need silk. So their silk demand is way more than what insects have. Which is why insect silk may not be as strong to harvest, to use as a biological material or a natural fiber, which is in the case of spider. Lot of engineering has gone into this, but imagine we have been harvesting insect silk since so many years. All that tussar sarees which you're wearing, and your moms and sisters and some of you, even me, all that is from insect silk. Why don't you ask me, ma'am, spider ka silk banaiye, uska bhi sari banayenge? Is it possible? What is the difference there? See, when we are approaching a subject, it should be multidimensional. Everything should hit your brain. Moth silk, which is on the cocoon can be wrapped out into threads. Spider silk is extremely difficult to harvest. It depends on the intent of the spider whether it will produce that silk or not. But moths, once they have produced that cocoon, whether they are stifled or they are allowed to fly away after pupation, the cocoon remains. What we do is out of the cocoon, we don't ask the moth to make it for us. That is a biological phenomenon. But with the spiders, they can eat up the silk and digest it, reproduce, recreate again. So they have got far more advanced and evolved mechanisms to digest the same silk which was once laid out into a web. So ye bande bahut alag hain. You cannot just tame them your way. Okay. Now to make 1 yard foot of spider silk material, that much, it needs 400 spiders. And do you think with their arenophagic and matrophagy and so many phagy in their life cycle, is it so easy to really, harvest spider silk? It's extremely difficult. Now look at these glands. There are some ampullate glands, flagelliform glands. Here, don't go into the jargons, but understand there are 7 different types of glands. What do? They give different strength to different wires or the different web silk in that whole system of a web. So the radii has got stronger silk. The concentric circle lines have got a weaker silk. Ask me why. If all is made out of one silk, the silk will just jump like that. The prey won't go and struggle, or they won't get stuck. Some silk has got glistening lines. Okay, when you go into a forest floor, just go and find poultice. One of my favorite spiders. You will never even recognize that it is a spider. That's a stump mimicking. It looks like a tree stump. I must have shown you in my previous slides for sure. It mimics a tree stump, looks exactly like a piece of a broken bark, and they will be producing glistening, electric silk webs. Sometime go and find out the silk web of a Citra arachne, which is also a bird poop mimicking spider. Huge webs, and once you stick one finger, you cannot take it off. It is so sticky. So different spiders use different things to line the silk web with what kind of prey they are expecting. Ones which will be expecting fluttering prey like dragonflies, damselflies, butterflies, they will always have glue. Some of the spiders which are not waiting for those kind of things will have sticky webs, but not with glue. They are just messy, like theridids. They don't have glue on the web, but they are so irregular that once somebody goes inside, they cannot set themselves free. So different webs, different functions, and different glands to create different kinds of lines in one particular web itself. Okay, too much of information, I can understand that. Okay.
Ma'am, can I ask
Yes,
two things, ma'am? Ma'am, means they can use these spider. Thank you very much. It's the first time हमको मालूम चला कि रात को वो निस्ट बनाते हैं. बहुत सारे स्पाइडर्स के हैं जो इवनिंग को अपने वेब बनाते हैं. हाँ, सवेरे खा लेते हैं. करेक्ट. वो पैसेज को क्लियर कर देते हैं. आप बगान जा सकते हो. लेकिन रात को वो कम से कम 500 मीटर डायमीटर में 500 mm का वो डायमीटर में वेब बना लेंगे. एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच. आज वो ये हुआ. दूसरी बात है, क्या वो जो प्रोटीन्स है जो है उसका फूड वैल्यू या एनर्जी उससे मिल रहा है जो सवेरे खा रहा है?
Actually, they don't take any energy from this because they have in the previous talk I have told you that they have extra outside the body they will digest. इसमें क्या होता है? They just will slowly take it inside. So what happens is the enzyme digests it but does not really give it to the stomach. और उसके energy absorption process में वो नहीं जाता है. Just gets recycled.
Okay. अच्छा, उसको फिर reuse करता है वो.
Yes.
इसका ब्रेन का साइज कितना बड़ा होगा?
किसका साइज?
इसका ब्रेन का साइज. अगर वो शॉक अब्जॉर्बर के समान काम कर रहा है, अलग अलग ग्रेड का थ्रेड दे रहा है, तो मींस उसका ब्रेन तो बहुत डेवलप किया होगा.
See, the brain of the spider does not lie in the head. Okay?
Oh God. Acha.
That's a different story. We'll come to it later.
Okay. Sure. Carry on, ma'am. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. I will ask
It's
you
so
to please
informative.
keep your questions till the end so that we can have a good
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah, yeah.
Let me just run through
Hey,
the
ma'am,
slides
thank you.
first. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let us see some of the photographs. Too much of jargon now, ampullate, flagelliform, God knows what form. Check these pictures out. I have purposely taken those dew-laden pictures which can tell you the intricacy of how many times. And imagine every half C you see, C is the C, or the half chord shape you see in the whole thing. That many times the abdomen goes like this, this. Just Google any spider silk creating video and you would see that extreme hard work which goes in, which is why nature has embedded them with this kind of a energy or of a facility where they can reuse this. It's an extremely energy consuming process to produce silk. They do not want to waste an iota of it. And imagine how much of protein would they need to ingest to make these many these kinds of silk every day. So that's really, really tough. So they do reuse it, which is, of course, a very, very much better plan than otherwise. Can anyone just guess whose nest this one is? If any of you have paid attention to my last talks, you would know. Looking at what is there in the center. Anyone?
Trash line spider?
That's correct, Mr. Sharma. You are such a pro in spiders now. I'm so feeling jealous that you have learned all about it. It's a trash line spider, Cyclosa genus. They create this to look like as if they are in one line. And to your surprise, here the spider is present in the web, although not visible. Here in the center of the whole this thing, this is the spider. If you can see my arrow hitting it, and the rest of it is all trash. Okay. Like I said, Mr. Sharma, when he was asking me to do this series, I said that my animals are the most intelligent animals I've ever come across. People say elephant and dolphin, whatnot. But for me, for intelligence, nobody beats the spiders. And I can prove my point. Okay.
I believe you completely after these sessions.
No, but once if we have a physical session sometime, like I'm aiming, I will be very glad to show you how more, because in 2D and in a flat screen we can just show you very limited things. A
We are
nature
looking
walk
forward
cannot
to
be substituted with anything else. That's what I
we'll,
strongly believe.
we're looking forward to host you at Jim's channel.
Let's see, fingers crossed. If I can make it for sure, then I'll be glad to do it. Okay, these are some of the other inverted tent web spiders like I have shown you in the past. And on your left side is a messy spider which is from Pisauridae genus, family, and is a arboreal one. So Pisauridae is a fishing spider family which would mostly take up dragonfly larvae, tadpoles, fishlings from the water. So that is why they are known as fishing spiders. But some of the genus in that particular family, genera in that particular family, like uh, mm, I forgot the name of the genus, I'm sorry. That is Dendrolycosa. Dendrolycosa, like dendro means trees, they live on the trees. Okay, that is how they make webs like this. And you will be surprised to see the intricacy of those kind of webs on the tree. Okay, so now, if you have to see the intricacy of a spider web, like I have told you many times, go out on a winter morning when it is just, this is the particular season, autumn just fading out and winter coming in. You will have those dew drops in the open grassland, and you can see innumerable number of spider webs if you go before the sunshine is really high up in the sky or the sun is really scorching. So by the time the sun is high up in the sky, they'll all get evaporated. Please walk early morning in the forest and you will be glad to photograph all of this. This is amazing architecture. Nothing beats it, No amount of architecture, even those which David Attenborough would show you, the fish making beautiful structures on the sand and all. Nothing beats these kind of structures when one particular female would do it within, let's say, 15-20 minutes, that whole structure. Some more of the nest. This is the one funnel web which I was telling you on grass. This is on the floor of the forest. These we have seen. This is Portia's baby sticking out of its egg sac. Now coming to the technical part. What creates two different kinds of silk? Like the composition, we told you glycine and alanine are the most important peptides or the amino acids other than spideroin, which gives the strength to the fiber in a spider silk. Cribellum is the important plate-like structure which is present near the spinnerets. Now, spinnerets are the organs which would spin the silk. Okay, this is the abdomen of the spider, ventral view. These are the spinnerets, and each structure is a spigot. Okay, I'll show you a clear image ahead. Where is that? Lost it somewhere. Okay, it'll come. Here, some spiders will have this particular cribellum. The others don't. What difference does it make to the silk? If you look carefully at a net casting spider, you will see loose silk, loose wool-like silk. Look at the web structures of a Euloboridae, which I said you will find in any alley or a landing of a staircase. Look at the silk of a Stygodiphus in Ericidae family, any Stygodiphus. Look at the silk of net casting spiders in Dinopidae family. All of them will be cribellate silk. Okay, loose strands, irregular shape, woolly in texture. On the other hand, if you look at these kind of orb webs, this is typically e-cribellate silk, which has got glue and stickiness. Now, this apparatus, what it does is, it has got a comb-like structure. So, ab jab baal kangi karte ho na, when you have got wavy hair, what happens is you pass the comb through, they again become wavy once you leave the comb. The same thing happens to the silk. Here, they do not add any kind of glue to the outside of the fibers. So the irregular structure does the thing, for which they have got this cribellum. Now, most of the spiders are, the New World spiders are evolved having no cribellum or e-cribellate silk. They instead use aggregate gland, which is basically creating a liquid. And then when it comes in touch with the air, it solidifies into a strand. Okay, which is why they are not woolly, very straight lines and very clean fibers. In the cribellate ones, you will see very messy. The first one I showed you in Stygodiphus, the long web. They are messy, irregular, and will always be loose wool-like structures. So you can differentiate. See, this is cribellate silk in a Dinopidae family. Okay, do you see the texture of the silk here, which is so different? Right? It comes out from cribellum, like it is combed out from cribellum, which is why it is different. And they are also used differently. Cribellate spiders also have a calamistrum. This is the place in the leg where they will have, the fourth walking leg will be having a calamistrum, a short row of specialized comb-like structures, which is used to basically, usko bunne mein aasani hoti hai. To weave the silk, it is very easy with the presence of these, because remember, they don't have the glue to the silk, which is present in e-cribellate silk. Okay. Let us also know how do they create this kind of drag line. What is the mystery behind the studs in which they hang themselves? तो कहीं पे तो स्टिक करते होंगे ना, जहां से वो स्पाइडर एक्चुअली एंकर करता है अपने आप को. When they will throw themselves out away from that place, what do they exactly do there? Look, this is a photograph I took under the microscope, and can you see those crystalline structure, squarish crystalline structures it has created out of its spinnerets? So what do they do is, they have got comb-like structures like this in Theridiidae family. This is from the Thomisidae family. Why they need it? This is a close-up of this photograph. They will make a mesh like this and then tie one of those dragline silk to one of these strands. So मैं क्या करूँगा पहले? What will I do is first create a mesh and stick it there. That becomes my anchor point. Then put a thread around it. Imagine you're trying to do some rope climbing. What do? Put the harness there to anchor first. Okay, that thing with which you can stick. Then you will put it onto your waist so that you don't fall off. And then you would climb. Exactly the same thing the spiders do. Just that we have discovered it very late. They know it 400 million years ago. They know how to do it. All rope climbing and everything is done. So this mesh will actually give them the anchor spot. From here, they can just tie the dragline silk and throw themselves away. The wind and the breeze does the rest. They'll carry it through 25 meters, 20 meters, God knows how many meters. This is a YouTube video, but I want to show it to you. And please pay attention. That is the legendary David Attenborough's voice, by the way. This is geometry at its best. You can measure the angles and the radii. They will be in perfect measurement. Look at this. Look at the use of the last leg, the fourth leg. This is one of my favorite videos, which I always share. So yes, we were here how they use the comb on the fingernails, and they would spray silk, which is mostly liquid in nature, and as it comes in contact with air, 1,000 number of strands together, they become one fiber. Okay. Now, quickly coming to the physiological apparatus, which we have already told you, the spinning gland, the duct, and the exterior silk thread. This is the whole mechanism how this happens. What is interesting is, like we have already told you, this apparatus helps produce the silk, but once it is eaten up, it also again comes back and gets produced once again. So there is a recycle thing happening there. Okay, the final fiber which is produced, which is the silk, is not one strand. There are so many strands together, and like we make braids out of hair, it is a similar process in which they entangle themselves and make it very, very tensile, which is why the documentary just said that it is tougher than silk. Why they say so? Because the layers in which glycine and alanine are attached to each other, those the peptide bonds, is very different in spider silk than in the others. So what is specific? Low density, high tensile strength, which is why it makes the best natural fiber. Imagine something as heavy as steel, if it is drawn into that ductile strands as a spider silk, it will be breaking off easily, which means the tensility goes away when the ductility of the metal increases. You draw into fine lines that is being ductile, they will lose the strength. But spider silk, you join them together, they become stronger. You separate them out, even then they can hold, and the tensile strength remains, which is why the Young's modulus of spider silk is way more than that of steel. This is a little bit of molecular structure here, which I will not go into details. But like I said, alanine and glycine, the smallest amino acids, which can together be pleated into beta sheets, is what gives them the structure. So if you have looked into silk made by ants, very commonly seen those fire ants, which will make those nests out of people and banyan leaves, using mango leaves sometimes. If you tear them off, you see there is no tensile strength in it. Sometimes go and don't go and get mauled by them. There are ones which have been abandoned. Go and see a nest like that. Those leaves, because they need it temporarily there, these guys will feed it upon again and will reuse it. So this silk is of virgin material and very, very strong, which makes it a very good material for so many other things in other use of bioengineering. Now, I will not get into the ethical part of it, which is a little tricky, but just understanding how spiderine and these two particular amino acids help create a different structure in spiders, which has been designed by nature, is pretty interesting. So whenever you find some time, you can go into this. This is all available in the biochemistry of spider silk if you go into the internet and find it. And their primary and secondary structures are also explained very beautifully. So these particular beta pleating on the sheets is what gives it that bounce and makes it strong as well. More of the molecular structure. Just remember that these structures, the way they are bonded to each other, is different with crystalline structures. See, these beta sheets have got some crystalline structures in them, which makes it more strong. So without it, if they are plainly structured like that in normal sheets, they will pull themselves apart, like ant silk. You can just pull it apart. It just has got no tensile strength and can be, उसको आप अलग कर सकते हैं very easily. This is different in spider silk. So even if you go and find a heteropoda's abandoned egg sac, which you will mostly find on the nest of a purple-rumped sunbird. Okay, not purple sunbird, purple-rumped sunbird's nest. You will find a lot of heteropoda egg sacs. These are reused in nature also. If you try to tear that egg sac, you will see it won't tear. You cannot tear it apart like that. They may break into two pieces. I mean, the two halves of the egg sac. It's like this. You can break it like that. But this one thing, if you want to pull it apart like this, it won't tear unless and until you use considerable amount of force, which is made out of this particular sheet placement of the amino acids and the way the protein is actually folded. Okay. This is a difference between a silkworm and the other silk. You can clearly see how the electron micrograph images tell you what exactly is the composition, how it is coated, and what gives the strength to spider silk than the insect silk. We have already discussed this in a short manner. Coming to the applications, now where is it being applied? Can you imagine some place where spider silk is necessary. So one of the most important applications, this is the golden silk spider, which is mostly being harvested as it is known to have the strongest silk amongst all other spiders. They have tried to find the gene which is responsible for it, but it is very difficult to fix one gene which creates the strength of the spider, which is why replicating it using different mechanisms, like sometimes they use E. coli, sometimes other mediums to replicate this DNA, they have not been as successful. But artificial silk using other replicating mediums like those of bacteria has been possible, and they have been able to find out that that silk, if it is possible to process natural spider silk into recombinant DNA using some recombinant machine, they can put it, machine in the sense a medium, they can create different tissues of different strengths. But how easy it is to do it and how scalable it is to get it into the commercial level is something else. It is not so easy. Like I said, spider silk, to harvest it itself is difficult. So targeting that gene, putting it into a medium where it can replicate through its DNA and giving out an output, we have a long way to go. Somehow, this has been done in some of the spheres of science, and bioengineering on this particular aspect is in full swing because they want to harvest this natural material and most importantly create two things. One, use it for surgery. You know, it is inert material. This does not react. This is plain protein bound in a very, very intricate fashion, and this can be used to stitch organs when they are cut open for surgeries. Like you have a internal this thing happening, and sometimes it is stitched with the normal thread which later needs to be pulled out, which is extremely painful. Now we also have the ones which get dissolved, but if this is used, it can just stay there forever like that without getting dissolved and without creating any other mess. So they have tried to use it for this particular process where they can use to be where they can be used in surgeries and also some grafts. The other most important use is using it for bulletproof jackets. Now the world is already torn apart into wars in so many spheres in so many different places. We don't want to talk about it at all. I mean, Israel is there on everybody's mind. But having said that, if this is possible to replicate into a level where this can be created in such a fashion that it can make bulletproof jackets, which it has been already tested to be made possible. Only thing that the consumer, I mean the commercial standards, to get into the commercial standards, it is really difficult. Then it will be a breakthrough innovation because the lightweight nature of the silk, the impenetrable nature of the silk, and the density with which the tensile strength is so high, it makes a perfect combination for a bulletproof material. Now, how far we go in that is a different thing, but artificial production is on. I mean, this research is really gaining pace since the last decade, and we have found some ways in which this can be made possible. These are some of the mediums in which they use to develop the different types of silk from the spider silk. And mostly in Japan and Korea are leading this research where they are using different mediums like E. coli, which I have mentioned previously, to make different kinds of silk. Some of the applications roughly like we have already said, and yarn can also be spun out of this, but like I said, you know how difficult it is to harvest silk from spiders. It's not so easy to keep pulling out and it keeps producing. It doesn't happen that way. Like in a moth, it has put all its effort and closed it, so you have the thing ready for your use. Here this is a live animal producing it. It won't produce silk at your will. Okay, you cannot use it as a machine to just harvest that way. It is not possible, right? So it is very difficult to actually bring these animals into this particular format where they can be used in huge number and volume. Some more visual treats for you. How the exact looks like in a Neoscona 3C probably. You can only understand the texture and nature of silk when you touch it. So without disturbing the spider, if it is ever possible when you walk the forest paths, please do that. You should touch and feel how different the tensile strength of each spider which makes a nest is. Can anyone tell me where the spider is in the first picture? Is it visible to any of you?
Ma'am, close to the fruit.
Not exactly. This is the spider here.
Okay.
And this is the exact discarding. I'm sorry that this is a not very beautiful
Okay.
picture.
No, it's okay.
This
Nice.
is the dry leaf on which it has tried to stick the egg sac, and it is completely camouflaged itself so that it is
Yeah.
not visible to the predators. And look at this apical stick where it is actually sticking its egg sac. It knows that the dry leaf will not fall off before the babies come out. I do not know how they know that. They just know it. And this is a Mimiarachna here, which is having a recluse, a very thin silk under which it is already hiding. Half of its body is not visible, only the head is visible. This is also very thin silk which is prepared, made by salticides on the bark of a tree. Though this is not very camouflaged, but it can quickly go in and come out. Some more here. Here you can see the sheet silk, like the exact. There is a nice little mouth kind of a opening. Looks like the mouth of a fish. This is the spider which would quickly go in. This is Siler. And this is again one of the ant mimicking spiders, which has got the egg sac here, and a little distance away, this is the recluse. So it will push itself into this web, which is not visible in this photograph though. There is another web of similar kind here, and this is the egg sac. So it will stay there and guard the eggs here. So that is how they make small, short, recluse kind of webs on the underside of leaves. Okay, this is the SEM photograph which I was searching then. These are the spigots, and this is the scanning electron microscope picture of the spinnerets of a spider web. They look amazing when you look through them, through this microscope, and the way they produce silk. This has all been documented. It is available on the internet, and you can go through and treat yourselves nicely if you have got some interest into it. So now, last time somebody was telling me about biomimicry and how this has been used in our daily lives. So yes, dragline silk has got so many applications these days that now this is being used to, so this is a very interesting link. I'll paste this link if possible in the chat box and you guys can see it later. So just go to this rogue.com where you will find this particular story about biomimicry, where on the glass, they use spider web-like pictures to avoid animals, insects, and birds from dashing across. So many of our, alleys and the stairways in our apartments have got glass, the side glass to let light come in. But most of the times you will see that whole window railing would be full of insects, those who just strike there and fall and die. Sometimes tiny birds also, even I have rescued them many times. So if you paste something which looks like a spider web there, most of the animals will prevent themselves from going and striking there. This has been seen as a pretty common thing, and now it is being used by some companies have made this kind of a film available for the window panes, and that is being used, which looks like a original spider web there, as clean as glass, just the spider web being pictured there, and that prevents many of the animals from actually striking glass over there. Okay. I have told you already that the silk which is used for egg sac is very different, and that gives the animal the most precious silk in the animal is used for egg sacs, because that is wealth for them to care about. Every biological creature we see is the most important phenomenon in their lives. They put in all efforts to make that one egg sac which will carry on the babies to the next generation, or the pass on the genes to the next generation through that. These are some of the other egg sacs which I have encountered during my studies. This is one of the egg sacs from a flooded region here in Odisha, where I went to do a survey. And you can see here, this is the point of attachment to the body. This egg sac is that of a Lycocid pardosa, which was attached to the female's body, but it got detached because the spider was extremely tired wading across through the flood waters. And when I put it in the breeding chamber there in my lab, it just got detached, maybe too much soaked with water or something. Later, I had to open it up, put a bulb around for enough warmth because it was all wet. None of the eggs inside were wet. It is completely waterproof from inside. That is one more feature in the spider silk, which is used for egg sacs. And all of them hatched into babies. So I've taken this picture because it looks beautiful like jewels, but they all hatched into babies nicely. This is one more egg sac picture. The inside silk is different from what is there outside. The color inside and outside, here also you can compare. It is soft silk inside the inner lining of the egg sac, which helps the babies when they come out. It is not tough, but the outer part is tough and waterproof also. This is that of a Argiope spider, the garden cross spider. Some more messy silk from Stegodiphyus. This is how they make it on thorny plants and scrub vegetation. I had told you already about this. Stegodiphyus in the first picture, Portia with the egg sac in the second. There is some funnel tunnel web spider in the third, where the spider is not there. One of the most interesting spiders in the whole world of spiders is the silk hen spider. Imagine one tiny spider. This is the baby, of course. The mother is no big than double its size. But this is not visible, by the way, to natural eye because it's a baby of a theridid. The whole henge is created by the mother spider alone, with the eggs kept here in the center. And again, a 3D kind of pyramid structure around it to protect the eggs. Imagine how much effort goes in only to egg laying and securing the security around the egg sac. Thank you very much for your patience. I'm open to taking all the questions.
May I ask the question, madam?
Please. Dr. Jatin, I can see your name here.
Yes, madam. I have typed the same. So how it prevent itself to stuck into its own web?
Very interesting question. One of the most common questions, but it is supremely interesting question. I'm surprised. Why do the other people not ask the same question? So what happens when you take a spider from somewhere and throw it into somebody else's nest? What will happen? Many times I've been asked this question. What happens is, अपने घर में कितना भी कबाड़ हो, do you go and strike yourself into the mirror? Do you? You don't. Do you strike against a glass? No, you don't. They have got these kind of comb-like structures on the ends of the tarsus of the legs, and they can just navigate through silk as easily as we cannot imagine. Mostly because their body does not get stuck with the silk. They will never brush their abdomen into the silk. You know, when you watch a video, see carefully where do they orient that silk. They do not go round and round like this. But again, like I asked, what will happen if you throw one spider into somebody else's nest? Will it be able to navigate there? Now, if it is a orb weaver, if it is one which builds orbs itself, it can navigate itself in another spider's web also after a bit of shock. The same spider in its own web, it will not get stuck. It will be, taken aback for a moment, but then it will figure out, right? If it is a different spider, let's say a salticid, it will quickly try to scramble off and jump down. Okay? But what happens when the spider themselves sometimes be not able to navigate? Most of the cases, it does not happen like that. They simply know how to pull threads apart and not let it stick on their body. Also, this particular glue which is there is for those who have got spines on their body, like dragonfly. If you see the wings, they are sharp on the edges. That gets stuck. Butterfly, the scales, moth, scales, diptera, those things sticking out from the legs, they get stuck. So spider silk does not entwine or entangle the spider themselves because they have got combs and they can clear off their way, right? And they do not technically, they know how to navigate themselves through the web. आपको कितना भी बड़ा जंतर मंतर में डाल दो, you know which is a rock, which is water, which is the stalactite, and where I can move through. It's simply that like that for them. They don't get stuck. But again, like I said, if you take something and put it on a web, they will be stuck for a moment, but they know how to figure out the way. I hope I have made myself clear.
Certainly, yes. Any more questions? Anybody?
या मैं बोल सकता हूँ
Yes, please.
मैम मैम फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल शायद ग्रुप में अजिंका साहब ने इसको शेयर किया था
Mhm.
एंड मेरे ख्याल से जो भी हम लोग इस तरह का जूम मीटिंग और टेक्निकल हम लोग देखे हैं this is one of the best ever Zoom meeting we have observed in our total life because
So
आपने
humbled. Thank
उनका
you so much, Mr. Sarkar.
बायोकेमिस्ट्री
Thank
नो
you.
मैम मैं बहुत छोटा सा आदमी हूँ फिर मुझे लगता है जो बायोकेमिस्ट्री से लेके उसका अमाइनो एसिड्स उसका जेनेटिक जो माने माने
Makeup है
डीएनए
उसका.
का जो हाँ हाँ ये जो डीएनए का ये सब वो कंपोजिशन की जी गुआनाइन एडेनाइन ये सीक्वेंस जो है साथ में रिकॉम्बिनेंट टेक्नोलॉजी को आप उसमें दिए हैं फिर वो जो उसका जो ये बता रहा है क्या जो टेंसाइल स्ट्रेंथ के बारे में बात किए we are
जी.
also working in ceramic fiber product where
अच्छा.
they used to produce this thread from aluminosilicate in high degree very high temperature
Oh.
by spinning methods like वो जो हम लोग बचपन में एक मिठाई खाते थे ना डंडा में लटका हुआ
हम्म. Cotton candy.
तो दीज आर द हाँ तो मुझे ये सब लग रहा है ना सब एक के साथ एक जुड़ा हुआ है और वो अलग अलग एप्लीकेशन पे आपने इलेक्ट्रॉन माइक्रोस्कोप में उसका स्ट्रक्चर उसका उसका जो डिफरेंट जो क्या उसमें चेंज अलग अलग है डिफरेंशिएट किए हैं
Actually,
साथ में
I'll tell you
कमर्शियलाइजेशन
this.
में
We have not covered the commercial part here, but let me tell you what I have shown you is not even 1/100th of whatever research is going on in the world. And
हाँ
today
मैंने
Japanese and
हम लोग
Korean
यहाँ पे
people are leading,
ये
but they have gone
मैम
into
हम
the
लोग यहाँ पे
nit-grits of the silk structure. And it has been stupendous amount of work which has been done only to understand how the spider produces silk first, second how we can
या
produce similar silk or artificial silk
यस
using the spider gene in
यस
a recombinant DNA, and what uses we can bring it to. Even in IIT Delhi,
यस
I'll tell you
मैम
for your information, there is very good research going on spider silk. I myself had tried to go and get some help from their lab, but unfortunately I could not. But if I do a PDF in my life ahead, I'm not sure if I'll do it. I will definitely like to look into two things. One is behavior of the animal, which covers all the intelligence. The other part is silk.
या
So that is one
ग्रेट
of the
मैम
things which is very
और
very intriguing.
ये कार्बन फाइबर्स केवलर ये रियलिटी है ये माने
Hmm.
जो भी थोड़े पढ़े लिखे होंगे वो जानते हैं कि दिस ऑल आर
बिल्कुल.
रियल थिंग इज हैपनिंग
Absolutely.
और
Absolutely.
वहां पे ये इतने बड़े एक बायोलॉजिकल माने साइट से इतने बड़े ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल का बनेगा वो चीज
Hmm.
मैं उसके मेडिकल एप्लीकेशंस हैं बहुत सारे जो आप दिखाए हैं तो इट्स अ ट्रिमेंडस थैंक यू अजिंका साहब को मेरा प्रणाम यू आर डूइंग अ ग्रेट थिंग मैम खाली एक रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे मैम
जी.
कि इसको ये हर जगह पे हमने हैबिटेट खराब कर रहे हैं भले ग्रासलैंड हो ट्रीज हो श्रब्स हो तो हम अगर इसको प्रोटेक्शन के लिए काम करना चाहेंगे तो इसको हम लोग कैसे करेंगे मैम
Actually, I
या
did not want to
इसका
come into this, but this is a very, very the pathetic side of conservation, I would say. Most of the funds in India, please don't take me on record, Mr. Sharma, for this. Most of the funds in our country goes into the elephants, tigers, leopards,
I
gores,
understand.
bisons, blah 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 blah. If I go and ask a funding agency, मैं spiders पे काम कर रही हूँ, मुझे थोड़े से पैसे दे दो, so that we can go and do the molecular biology for this. They will say, what are spiders? Do they help us do something? We are thrown questions at like this. It is very, very, very difficult to, like they say, kide makode. We get very offended when somebody says kide makode because without the spiders, I'll tell you, insects will take up the world in a way you cannot imagine. Have you seen those
मैम
locusts migrating into
मैं
and the crop fields gone in a day's
मैं
time?
ऐड ऑन करूंगा, आई एम सॉरी, मैं ऐड ऑन करूंगा एक वर्ड। ये हमारा फूड चेन में बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करता है।
Actually,
हाँ, मीन्स
absolutely.
इस नेक्स्ट, हाँ नेक्स्ट लेवल में ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है फॉर बर्ड्स एंड अदर रेप्टाइल्स, एम्फीबियंस, सब इनके ऊपर टिके हुए हैं। ये चीज
It's
हम
just
नहीं
that
समझते हैं।
the funders don't realize this, and like you have rightly
या
pointed out, it is high time we talk about their conservation because, like I have shown you, one family of spiders which is Ericidae, the stegodiphes, जिसमें वो लोग
या
मेसी वाले webs बनाते हैं, बहुत सारे tunnels होते हैं. Those spiders
जी
are
मैम।
indicators of scrublands, of grasslands, of
ओ
meadows. We have lost grasslands and meadows and those thorny scrub vegetation जहाँ पे बहुत सारे bush birds रहते हैं, बहुत सारा diversity वो cover करता है. These are indicators, and we have lost them big time. I can tell you from what I see in Bhubaneswar, in central India, and most of the areas I go around in this particular, the Deccan, mostly Chota Nagpur plateau mein, we are losing
यस
them at an alarming rate. But koi is,
या
cognizance of this particular thing at all. Once we miss them, imagine one nest of stegodiphes can attract millions of insects over the whole life
यस
cycle of that nest. But we just don't realize, माने हमें कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता उस चीज से. So
नहीं
it's
मैम।
sad that we have not thrown enough light into the conservation aspect of spiders, and the point is absolutely well taken. I promise I'll do whatever I can from my end to highlight this
या
particular aspect, and let us hope that the funding agencies also have a little bit of, considerate attitude towards the critters. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar.
हाँ
Thank you
मैम,
so much.
थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच।
Sorry. It's been such a wonderful session.
I think we
Thank
are
you
done with
very
the
much.
questions. Yeah.
Anybody wants to ask any more questions?
Any books to suggest for learning about spiders? There is, well,
मैम I'm sorry, this is the last question.
yeah, please.
What is the right time of their breeding time? This summer?
No, so if you have to see spiders in plethora again, I think this is the
Hmm.
best time when the monsoons are just
Right.
fading. So once it rains, they are all out. So they have a dormant period, which is the winters. In winters, spiders are not outside much. You can understand they
Yeah.
are cold-blooded animals
Yes.
and they
Hmm.
cannot resist too much of low temperature.
Yes.
In the summers, they will be there out, but again, to prevent themselves from desiccation, they'll be in recluse. They are active during the summers, but to see them best, autumn is the time. This is the best time
Okay.
to see it. And they they lay eggs and they would have egg sacs around, and they'll all be out now. Once winter sets in completely,
Okay.
they will all again go back into their dormancy and wherever they can
So
hide
this is
themselves.
just the right time for me to remind
Absolutely.
you that what amazing spider diversity we have at Jim's Jungle Retreat.
Oh, please don't lure me
And
that way.
please take some time off from your regular, work, visit us.
Surely,
I
I
mean,
would.
you'll be surprised because we see all these things, but we don't understand most of it.
True.
And it'll be a wonderful experience to have you here in person.
I just hope I can make it sometime soon.
Yeah. Any
Ma'am,
more questions from
last
anybody?
सवाल है खाली.
Hmm.
Cannibalism is there? Cannibalism is there?
Definitely it's
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
So
Yes. Thank you.
cannibalism in intraspecies is there. Salticids eating up
अच्छा.
Oxyophidae. Cannibalism,
Okay.
sorry, that is interspecies. Intraspecies is also
Intra.
there. The female eating up the male in the process of courtship sometimes after meeting.
Okay.
That is also there.
Like reptiles. Yeah.
Like whom?
Reptiles. I think some in snake also they used to cobra used to take. Mhm.
Is
I
it?
think.
I don't think so.
I think you are referring to the king cobra, which is
Yeah.
essentially a snake eater, and the mother usually, because they are the only nest builders in the snake world, the mother leaves the nest just before the
So
eggs hatch.
cannibalism, when do we refer to cannibalism is when the species themselves eat the another individual of the same species. We don't
Yes, yes.
call king cobras as cannibals because king cobras eating king cobras is very rare, right?
Possible.
Possible though.
Possible.
Yeah.
Uh,
So they
Thank you,
mostly
sir.
like to take up, rat snakes or other snakes available easily. But in spiders, the female eats up. I mean, eats up is a very wrong term to use, but mostly would attack and prey upon the male many times after meeting. So that particularly makes it cannibalism. The
She
same species
needs
being eaten up by the.
she needs little
Thank
extra protein, I believe.
Yeah, so many theories again why cannibalism happens and all. We covered a brief part of it in the second talk, I remember, and
Yes.
that was interesting. And like I said, matrophagy is also there. What would you call that? The mother just sleeps to death. Again, in the same family of social spiders in Ericidae, the mother is fed upon by the babies as the first meal of their life. So what would you call that? It's some
Ma'am,
maternal
like
sacrifice
octopus.
of next level.
Ma'am, like father octopus has used to
Uh,
sacrifice his body.
yes, probably.
So
Thank you, ma'am.
if
Thank you.
we'll wind
Soham,
up the
I would
session
request you
here.
to please write me an email so that I can give you the links of some of the books which we already have in India and one very interesting book by uh, Mary uh, Herbstein on spider behavior. Please write to on my email. So I am not able to paste it here. Kindly just ping me on Gmail. I will send you the links. I'll be glad to share. So this is Proshenjit Sarkar or Proshen Sarkar. Was asking all the important questions today. Thank you, Mr.
Very
Sarkar,
Ma'am,
for
interesting
being
sorry.
so
questions.
actively
Madam,
there
I'm
on the
Prashanjit.
talk.
Just email ID is like that, Proshan0018, ma'am.
Acha.
Devi, for taking us through this wonderful journey through the world of spiders. Uh, this has been session with you, and we are really enlightened with the depth of your knowledge about this subject. Please, all of you, please check out our Insta space for Jungle Studios. We shall look forward to see you on these. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really glad that we could make this.
Thanks to you.